Welcome to the Golf Improvement Podcast, episode 228.
Welcome to the podcast for golf lovers who are looking to shoot lower scores. Dedicated to professional club fitting, putting and short game improvement, and effective practice techniques to improve your golf game. This is the Golf Improvement Podcast with your host, Tony Wright.
Hello, this is Tony Wright from Game Improvement Golf in Oak Ridge, Tennessee with the Golf Improvement Podcast, dedicated to sharing useful information on putting and short game improvement, professional club fitting, and effective practice techniques. Changing golfers' lives, one golfer at a time. I first met Keith Muir through a connection on Twitter. His website is ThoughtsFromTheTrain.com. And I've enjoyed over the past year or so reading his posts related to his search for a putter that will help him improve his putting performance. What he's done, I think, is unique and is worth thinking about if you want to find a putter that is truly a match for your natural putting stroke tendencies. I won't say anything more right now, other than saying I hope you enjoy this interview as much as I did doing it with good friend Keith Muir.
Tony Wright and Game Improvement Golf, changing golfers' lives, one golfer at a time.
Hello, this is Tony Wright, and welcome to episode 228 of the Golf Improvement Podcast. I'm very grateful today to do this interview with Keith Muir, a low handicap golfer who plays golf in the UK at some really neat places. He's been on the search for the perfect putter for his game. And he and I have corresponded, maybe a year or two, I don't know, for a long time on Twitter. And I'm excited to have him share his search for all of you and some of the things that you can get out of what he's done to do that. Thanks for being here today.
Tony, thank you very much for asking me along. Hopefully my journey can help some other golfers.
That'll be good. But let's start a little with you sharing some of your golf story, especially, my goodness, getting to live the life, the great golfing life and the amazing courses you're a member of and get to play.
Yeah, I am very privileged living here in St Andrews in Scotland. I have access to some amazing golf courses, not just in St Andrews, where we have 7 courses within the Links Trust, but also in the wider Fife area, where there's at least another 50 golf courses to try, with some famous names like Dumbarnie and Kingsbarns, Ladybank, Scots Craig. All of which, not even mention Crail and Ely and Anstruther and all the other famous names. You really are in the birthplace of golf, and it's an excellent place to be retired.
Now, did you play a big event this weekend too? I'm kind of remembering you said you did that too, right?
Yes, I did. I played something called the Speyside 54, which is a 3 rounds of golf up in Speyside, organised by Boat of Garton Golf Club. So you play Boat of Garton, Granton on Spey, and then the magnificent Spey Valley Golf Course, which is a McDonald's resort up in Aviemore. Unfortunately, we weren't blessed with the best weather. It was rather cold. The first taste of what's to come for winter golf in Scotland, with 4 layers, hand warmers, snoods, and woolly hats on Friday.
Oh, boy. Well, one of my favorite memories of golf, we got to go to Ireland for 10 days with who was our parish priest. And we were out one day playing, and it was absolutely miserable. The rain was coming sideways. And he said, "You are not going to stop. This is part of the experience here." And and so we stopped at the 10th hole and had a hot toddy and kind of went on. And, the score wasn't mattering. I know it mattered to you
Oh,
in terms of your event, but I'll never forget getting to do that.
well, part of my golfing journey, Tony, is trying to get to that point where the score doesn't matter. I mean, it's always a lot easier to write about it and to think about it than it is to actually do it. But when you're in the magnificence of the Highlands and you're having a bad day on the golf course, you just have to look around and just appreciate where you are. It's the post that I've just sent you this afternoon really talks about it, about the transcendental golf, and some things in golf just they do transcend the score.
Yeah, I've had a couple great experiences like that. Well, you have a very positive, I think, obsession with putters and putting. Share how that started for you, and your interactions with Bruce Rearick, who obviously I know very well, and some of the things you learned from him, and maybe talk about what your gamer was until recently and why.
Yeah, I mean it's. I just have to hope that my wife isn't listening to this podcast, or she'll start to appreciate or understand about how much money I've spent on putters over the years. Um, I'm a frequent eBayer though. Nothing stays in the spares bag for very long. But putting, for me, it's something that I've always thought I wasn't a very good putter until more recently when I started using the Tangent Golf app to track my putting properly. That's shown me that I am actually quite a good putter, but I just have lacked a bit of confidence. And on that journey, I first contacted Bruce Rearick back in 2016. It turns out to be.
Wow.
I was looking back through my emails and I found the original correspondence, and yeah, it was back in early mid 2016. So back then, everything was a bit more difficult remotely than they are now. So it was all done by email correspondence, and sending them short video clips and photographs. So back in 2016, I think I just followed the same path that most golfers take. I looked at what my playing partners were using. I looked at who my partners who I thought were good putters, what they were doing. Um, and I just went through that whole sort of merry-go-round of picking up putters, trying them willy-nilly. If that works, then it's great until it stops working. But I never really understood the mechanics of it until a friend of mine, Colin Shellard, suggested I speak to Bruce Rearick. Um, and really, that was quite a long shot at the time, back in 2016, getting in touch with this chap across in America. I knew nothing about him. He was offering some online instruction for a fixed fee back then. So I took the gamble, got in touch. Exchange rate was in our favour at the time, and really took it from there. So
Wow.
so back then, I think when I first contacted Bruce, as I was looking back through the correspondence, I was playing an Odyssey White Hot Pro number 7, so a face balanced fine mallet. And through the conversations and work with Bruce, I've ended up in something which is almost diametrically opposite to what I was using at the time. Um, and that's come from just understanding putting a bit better, understanding the mechanics, understanding personal biases, and then doing some AimPoint lessons, which we'll come on to later on as well.
Yeah, and I can't wait to talk about that part too. But you have gotten, and I can't remember when it started, but you've gotten really methodical about testing. Some people
Yeah,
just go out and hit a lot of putters. What's your sort of method for doing that? And also, I think it's the Tangent app you use that you discovered,
yes,
and how
yes.
important that is for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I think back again to the work with Bruce, I mean, Bruce's fitting methodology is really trying to fit a putter to you. I've just gone through an awful lot of things of trying to fit myself to different clubs and not appreciating that actually one style works better than another style, not understanding my visual preferences, not understanding my postural preferences. Things that I've done with Sam Putt Lab have shown me that I've got a good repeatable stroke, but I've not necessarily been using a putter which is the best one for that stroke. So my mechanics have been okay. So when I'm doing my putter testing for the reviews that I've been doing, I felt that for them to have any objectivity, then I had to try and find a set of tests that would be comparable across the different putters that I used. So putts from a various different lengths, a start line test to see whether I start them online, and a lag test to see what see how my pace control is. Because one of the things that I found a year or so ago when I um, first tested a Lab DF3, I struggled with pace control when I was using it in practice. So really, that DF3 was probably the first putter review that I wrote. So I wrote a description of the fitting process. Then I used it for about 22 or 23 rounds, and I wrote an update post. And really, that's the one that started me on writing more posts about putters.
And maybe a little more about tangent. So what is it, basically strokes gained that you're getting from that, and comparing it to, different ones?
Yeah, tangent gives me good information. Again, I used to use a Garmin watch, and my Garmin watch died a couple of years ago, and I was looking for a new platform. And the Garmin watch was superb, a brilliant battery life. It was a fantastic watch, but I decided I wanted to move to an Apple Ultra watch, and I felt there had to be some apps out there that would work with an Apple Watch. So I looked at a number of different apps that were available at the time, and I came across Tangent, and I had a few questions that I couldn't find answers to online. So out of the blue, I thought I'm going to email them. So I emailed them, and it was actually Dallas, the chief executive, who emailed me back, and we had a long conversation via email over the course of the weekend, and looking at his commitment to the platform, what he was trying to do with Apple Watch, looking at the things that you can do with the sensors and the shot tracking without needing anything in the end of your club. I felt actually let's give this a go. And I've actually written a couple of reviews of my experience with Tangent as well. It's very, from a putting point of view, the way you log your putts, you can either do a simple short, medium, long, or you can actually pace it out and see how far your first putt distance was.
Yeah.
Then you tell the watch. It's very easy to use. You tell the watch how did you miss? Was it high right, high left? Was it short? Was it pace or was it aim? And then it works out your strokes gained, and it gives you the option to look at your strokes gained against various different handicap levels. And that's what I've been using for the last 2 years.
Now, with the combination, I hadn't thought about this when I posed questions, but so with the combinations of that and the testing, have you sort of felt like your putting has matured just because of monitoring those things?
Monitoring it gave me more insights as to what my trends were. So as I said, working with Bruce, I went from being in a face balance putter, face balance mallet putter, and Bruce put me into his profile number 7, and the recommendation for a profile 7 putter was a heel shafted blade with about a full shaft of offset and almost full toe hang. So it couldn't have been much further away from the face balanced mallet that I was using at the time. And over the course of the times that I've been working with Bruce, I tried a number of different blades, and ultimately ended up in sort of a half blade, half mallet, if you want to call it that, in the Toulon Atlanta, which is a compact mallet with a decent amount of toe hang and about a full shaft of offset. So that's how I ended up in the Toulon. But there was a lot of putters between 2016 and finding that one in 2022.
Now, It's only really been recently. I mean, I've obviously following your posts for a long time, and you test a putter and it's not there, kind of. That's been the progression. But then recently, you found one that you really think is different than your
Yes.
true lawn in terms of and how it performs. Talk about what that is, and maybe a little bit why.
Well, looking back, uh, um, again, it's partly again preparing for this interview and looking back through my notes with Bruce. Um, I think the mistake I made initially was thinking, right, Bruce is going to give me the ideal magic wand, and I'm going to have the perfect putter. And we came up with a design that I had made by Carrie LaJosie, which was a, a blade putter, which looks a bit like oh, I'm trying to remember the name of the Scotty Cameron that's based on
Like a
a
square back or
Monterey, like a
something? Or
Monterey. I think it was like a
oh,
Monterey. So it's a high toe blade, um, but it was still too heavy. So it was understanding again, going back to Bruce's profiles, is the impact of head weight. And a lot of the putters I think I've tried recently have been a bit too heavy. Um, and through the testing, um, getting those tests right, and we'll come on, I think, to talk about some of the technology that I've used and the testing I did with Sam Pat Lab, and then going on to Quintic as well. It just helped me understand a little bit about my again how weight impacted, how offset impacted, how alignment lines impacted, um, and then a lot of trial and error. So while I was doing the putter testing, um, what I found was that it started off with trying to test some of the zero torque putters because obviously they've been getting an awful lot of hype
yeah.
certainly over the course of the last 24 months, and I'd not had a good experience with the Lab DF3 when I tried that. So when I saw the new ones coming out, I thought let's have a look at some of these. I started off with some of the mallets like the new Spider ZT 5K. Um, and then moved into some of the zero torque blades. So the Lab Link one, I tried the BGT Paradox mallet and blade, and that was really the one that sparked the most interest was the BGT ones because I could see a significant difference in my putting between the mallet and the blade, and I thought, well, why is that? And the only thing I could put it down to at the time was the fact that the blade had very little onset, whereas the mallets, the zero torque mallets, all have a lot of onset, and it didn't seem to suit my eye. So that made me think more about okay, if I could putt well with this zero torque blade, which has got almost no onset and basically no offset, I should be having a look at blades again. So I started looking more at blades, and then I came across SeeMore putters again, and I've known SeeMore for a long time. And in fact, through the putter reviews, I tried one of their platinum models, which was a heel shafted full toe hang blade, and I didn't particularly like it. But when I was doing my Quintic putting putter fitting um, earlier on in summer, we were looking at the impact of grooves because Quintic looks a lot at how the ball rolls, and we tested the Bettinardi antidote blade, and it was working really quite well. But unfortunately, it was a counterbalanced sort of arm lock one, which was very heavy, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't like how heavy it was. But the roll I was getting off that style of face was very good. So just through looking around, I spoke to the person at the time about SeeMore putters. He only had a couple of the old original spiral milled faces, but we thought they've got a horizontal milled face. So speculatively, um, I managed to pick up a SeeMore Mini Giant FGP putter, which has been quite a revelation for me, to be honest. It's for a start, it's lighter. head weight is 30 to 40 grams lighter than my Toulon Atlanta. It's lighter than my LaJosie. Its swing weight's a lot lighter than both of them, and it's zero offset and full toe hang. So it's pretty much the putter that would have fitted into, or I think it's a putter that would fit in quite well to Bruce's profile 9, whereas
Yeah, right.
I'm profile 7. But I think Bruce's profiles. If I put myself, I can see myself in all three of those final profiles, 7, 8, and 9. I think I'm probably actually more of an 8. And this putter fits very well with that profile. And I just found that its balance was very good. Its feel off the face was very good. Um, One of the things I found when I've been putting was my pace control was poor, and that was highlighted in the data that I got from Tangent with a lot of misses short. I was struggling to get the ball to the hole. We'll come on to AimPoint in a minute or two, but I do wonder whether it's partly not having confidence in my green reading, or whether it's not having confidence in my putter, or a little bit of a combination of both. And so yeah, if I think about my testing as a little bit like a game of winner stays on at pool.
Winner stays on. I like that. Yeah.
The SeeMore was very, very impressive. It was the first putter that actually beat the Atlanta on a consistent basis. And
Now, isn't it? I'm trying to remember. Is that? Excuse me. There's my break for a little water. Hold on. I think that's what they call face balanced impact. Isn't that right?
I think it is a face balanced impact putter. For me, if I think about what has been one of my biggest flaws in putting, it would be on my backstroke. I tend to be a little bit wobbly. And when I go back and read through Bruce's information again, I think that's very much because the putter head has probably been too heavy. That issue of getting over the inertia, both to start your stroke and in the transition back to your follow through. I think it's been a putter that's been too heavy. But so many putters these days are very, very heavy. It's difficult to find something that's say 500 grams total weight. My SeeMore, I think, is 520 grams total weight. The Atlanta was 575, I think it was. So quite a heavy putter.
Yeah, I'm very partial to lighter. Maybe that's too much of a bias, but I've had too many experiences seeing people that benefited almost immediately from being lighter. So
Yeah, and the tangent data shows me that I putted reasonably well with the Atlanta. I had positive strokes gain putting for over 200 rounds, so I could make it work. But it was just interesting when I looked at the results I was getting from something like the BGT Paradox blade, the Bettinardi Antidote blade. I was aiming them better. So my initial start line was better. The sand data was better, and I aimed blades better than I aimed the Atlanta. So there was compensatory factors in my stroke with the Atlanta. So I was manipulating that a little bit to suit my preferences. Whereas with those blades that I tried, I would just stand up and I could see the line better, and I could hit my start point better, and everything started to come together again.
yeah. Now, I kind of skipped one of the little pieces of this, but let's go back to it. So, besides testing a lot of putters, you've got to play with a lot of measurement toys, right? And some of which I've never been on Quintic, and I know there's others. Talk about one of my good flat stick putting friends is a big Quintic guy, and that's his basis for doing putter fitting. Talk a little bit about some of the different things you've gotten to do in terms of testing. Obviously Sam Putt Lab, but there's a whole range of other things out there.
Yeah, mostly, I think most places that are convenient and local for me have been Sam Putt Lab places. Um, the thing that I don't like about sand is the weight of the sensor that sits on your shaft. I can't see how that doesn't impact the way you swing the club. If you've got a 50 or 60 gram weight attached to your shaft, that has to impact how you swing it. Your putter feels totally different when you use it. Um, so while it can give some good data and it is the industry benchmark, I wanted to try and find something else. And from watching old TXG videos on YouTube, I'd always been fascinated by Quintic. So when I was on holiday this year, I found there was a club champion close to where I was on holiday who fitted with Quintic. So I took the chance to go down and give it a go and see how I found that. And it's quite a different system because there's no sensors on your putter. There's just the dots on the ball, and it looks at the roll of the ball rather than the movement of the putter. So I found the additional information that gave me was interesting. It certainly influenced what I did next in terms of the putters that I wanted to try. But the two
And
systems are quite different.
yeah. Now you also, no, is it Putt View or what's the other one? I forget that you've been on.
I have a blast motion sensor, which I've still to use that for my putting. I used it previously in terms of helping me with stroke tempo. So I used it for stroke tempo, and I also used tour tempo app for that as well, looking at short game and using the sort of metronome aspects of tour tempo. So those ones I've used for this.
It's you obviously know I did an interview with a tour tempo guy, John Novosel Jr.
Yes.
It fascinates me that more people don't really realize what he's done and how he can help people. There's so much science that fits from that.
Agreed. Agreed. I think the other one we're talking about was having a shot in a Zen putt lab. So I used the Zen green,
Yeah, that's right.
which I thought was fantastic. And if I could, if I ruled the putter fitting world, I would love to be able to fit a putter um, on a Zen green. When I go for putter fittings or I have been for putterless fittings in the past, it's been is it 10 to 12 foot straight putt. Um, and yes, you can see how your mechanics work, but that doesn't tell you whether you can then aim it well on a downhill left to right putt or a steep uphill putt. And being able to use that on a Zen green and dial in any amount of break or slope that you want, I think that would be a fantastic combination. And then if you can project putt view over the top of that and show the lines and the breaks, that could be a fantastic tool for putting instruction and for putter fitting.
It's a very expensive way to go, but it's sure got a lot of value. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I need to scour eBay, see if I can find a second-hand putt. But I don't think
Yeah.
that's going to happen.
Well, you mentioned AimPoint a little while ago. I mean, I feel a little responsible for continuing to push you about that for a long time. But I
Yes.
mean, what I find interesting about AimPoint, and I know you're going to talk about your experience, I think everybody that tries AimPoint and does it really correct sees that it works. But taking it to make it work when you play is what the real key is. Finding a way to lock it into what you do. So
Uh,
talk both about how it started, but what you did to make it work for you. What kinds of things?
yeah, Tony, I mean, it goes back to when did we first contact each other, and it has to be, well, it's since I started writing my blogs, so 2 to 2.5 years. And I think the conversation started by you asking me about wearing glasses.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right.
and we talked quite a lot about about glasses. And if I look at, I experimented with single vision on your recommendation. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my ball to balance on the tee when you use single vision glasses. Unfortunately, I couldn't see the scorecard to write my score down either. But so I struggled with single vision. I had another friend, Colin Shellard, who I mentioned earlier, and he was an AimPoint fan as well. And I was looking at all my putting data, and I was thinking, if my mechanics are good, and I've got a very high consistency and repeatability in my stroke, then it has to come down to green reading. So green reading must be the thing that I'm struggling with, or it must be the missing link to better putting. Um, and I'd had some putting lessons previously where the chap that I saw used a version of AimPoint. He just basically had you walk with your eyes closed towards where you thought the end point was and where did you end up. So gravity would take you to where you were. And I didn't think that was a great method. But um, this year I had a bit of an enforced layoff from golf due to a back injury, and I thought this is a perfect time to look at this properly. And I contacted a local professional friend who I knew was an aim pointer and asked him for a quick introduction to it. And really that's what sparked it. And if you look in Scotland, there's not many places or not many certified aim point instructors. So, but fortunately in St Andrews we have Fintan Bonner, who is a very high grade instructor. So there was an excellent opportunity to go along and learn it from somebody who is using it and teaching all of his students it. So I did that at the start of the summer, and then it was been a case of practice, 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 and it it takes for me. Why do I like it? I was historically a traditional green reader, so I'd be watching the green as I walked up towards it, up the fairway, and then I'd read the putt from behind. I'd read it from the other side of the hole. I'd be looking for the high point and the low point, and I'd sort of try to visualize the way the ball rolls in. So I was always feeling like I was trying to pick the point, pick the apex of the line, and hit the putt towards that. And often I would stand over my putt and I'd start to second guess where I was aiming. So what I like about aim point the most is it turns every breaking putt into a straight putt. Um, and the revelation through the lessons with Freddie and Finton was the first time that I would read a putt with my feet properly, and it would be so radically different from how I read it with my eyes. Usually much more break than I'd read with my eyes. Um, and then watching the ball take that line and finish where I'd hope it would finish, it just it was a bit of a bit of an epiphany moment. It was like actually this really does work. And it's really not difficult to do. And if you're doing it properly, it's an awful lot quicker than a traditional read as well. So it's through practice and hitting good putts, it builds confidence, and then everything comes from there.
It sounds like, exactly what Mark Sweeney would say if he was on this podcast. And, I've talked to him before and stuff, that the confidence building is so much because you've got a really good sense of what the line is.
And then once I've got a sense of the line, it's all about just hitting the putt with the pace. So rather than sort of trying to guesstimate your line and pace, all I'm thinking about is there's my aim point. I'm hitting a straight putt to that point, and I'm hitting it at a pace that's going to get to that point. And then it's watching the ball roll. And sometimes I think, gosh, I've hit that miles offline, and it takes all the break at the end, and it is a three-finger break or a two-finger break, whereas my eyes were maybe saying it was significantly less than that. And it's through doing and seeing. I think there's that old Groucho Marx line, isn't there? Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? Well, I'm going to believe my feet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's great you're having that experience with it. We're going to probably watch a lot of people using AimPoint this weekend, I'll bet.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. That was the thing with me with AimPoint. One of my reluctances with AimPoint was that I was watching people who were doing it incorrectly. So they seem to be doing a version of AimPoint, but if you listen to the AimPoint podcast, which is really quite good, you find that an awful lot of people haven't ever been trained in it and aren't doing it correctly. They're doing a version of it that they've tried to teach themselves, and they'll do a combination of AimPoint plus traditional reads, and you think, well, yeah, that means you're not really committed to either of them. Um, I think the key with AimPoint is, well, once you trust it, is just committing to it, continuing to do it.
Yeah. It's
So
it's it's pretty amazing that he came up with the Express system, because I remember back when the original system, and he acknowledges that, Mark Sweeney, that it was really cumbersome compared to now, and it's just simple.
yeah, and isn't that typical of most things in life? The simple things generally are the best.
That's right.
Yeah,
Well,
Occam's razor.
yeah, that's right.
But I mean,
So
I
go
say
ahead.
most of my frequent play partners have all commented on how much more confident my putting is since I have started doing aim point. And to me, really, it is that key that I'm not standing over the ball second guessing my line anymore, which means that I hit my first putt with an awful lot more confidence and authority than I used to. And it's been quite apparent in my tangent data that I'm getting more of my first putts to and beyond the hole than I was before, and I'm leaving myself with easier and better second putts.
Yeah. So your journey, how much is it going to continue in terms of testing putters? I mean, do you think there's something else out there that's a little bit different? I mean, after all this, and you're going to still look for it, or?
Um, Tony, I just really enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
I really do have a fascination and a love for putters, the different designs, the different styles, the different ways they all work. I was looking back at my blogs from this year, and I think I've tested 11 putters this year, with the SeeMore that I'm using just now being the last. Actually, no, it wasn't the last one I tested. I post the SeeMore. I tried the new Toulon Formula 90.
Yeah.
So I'm fortunate that I've got a good relationship with the guys at Ochterlony's. So when new things come into Ochterlony's, um, Adam contacts me and says, "Do you want to give this a try?" So I'm still fascinated to try the new SeeMore Zero Torque putter when it comes out. I'm interested to see what zero torque means from a SeeMore, given they've put an awful lot of their effort and marketing into this face balance at impact concept. How will that work with a zero torque model? Um, I'd like to try the new Scotty Cameron Zero Torque when it comes out. I've been speaking to a chap called Ollie Longlands who has Sync Golf, and he
Mhm.
makes some beautiful putters, and hopefully we can get together and I'll do some reviews of his putters. And I would like to try some more Axis One putters as well. I mean, I tried the Axis One Rose. I would really like to get my hands on the Axis One Blade putters and see how they perform.
And
But
I think they've got some new designs too that Justin Rose has influenced. Have I think that's the case,
they
right?
have they've got one with a more conventional neck, hopefully,
Yeah.
because people look at them and they think, oh gosh, that's such an ugly neck. But when you're using it, you don't see it. It's one of those things. You see it when it's in your bag, and you see it when you take the head cover off. But when you're putting with it, you don't notice it. Um, I thought the Axis One Rose was an excellent putter. Um, but I'm not doing this because I want to change putter. I'm doing it primarily because I just really like doing it. I like trying the different putters. I like writing the reviews. I like sharing my findings. And the reason that I went to this format of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, plus a 30-foot lag putt and start drill was just to try and give a bit of consistency and continuity to my reviews, so that you could go back and look at my Spider 5K review, compare it to my BGT review, or compare it to my lab link review, and I've gone through a consistent set of tests with each of them. and they're always compared to my gamer. So until the SeeMore beat the gamer, the Atlanta was the benchmark putter. Now the SeeMore is the benchmark putter.
Now, I hadn't heard that SeeMore was coming out with a zero torque putter. So that's you're corresponding with Jim there, or
There has been some leaked pictures of it. You will find it on social media. So there does appear to be a zero torque putter that it's more of a sort of fang shaped, rectangular fang shaped model.
oh, I forget what that model is, but they're almost like their version of an Odyssey 7, right? In a
Um,
way.
yes, yeah, a little bit. I can't remember what the name of it is either, to be honest. But so I definitely will be doing some more putter testing. But it's just because as I said, it's just because I enjoy doing it.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure anybody has done in total the kind of things you've done to test a lot of putters by one person besides yourself.
Yeah, I think that's hopefully that's a good thing.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully that's the interesting thing from looking at the performance of my posts. The putter reviews get an awful lot of views, so people are very interested in them. Um, I wish more people would read the AimPoint ones because ultimately I think AimPoint will do more for your putting than a new putter will. So learning to read the greens properly, learning to putt with more confidence, that would do that. That's how an amateur golfer will improve their putting much better than just experimenting with new putters. I'll do the experimentation and I'll give you the results. But the thing I would recommend people the most is learn to read greens properly.
Well, Mark Sweeney would be happy to hear you say that, but he knows that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this has been great today. Any final lessons you want to share with golfers to help them improve their putting?
I've,
What's our final words today?
yeah, I'm a big believer in what Bruce Rearick recommends. I believe you have to find the putter that fits your natural tendencies, because your natural tendencies will always come back out. Um, So when I've gone for putter fittings and putter instructions, and they've all been saying, get your eye over the ball, putt this way, putt that way. They're trying to fit you into their preference. But people see the line in different ways. So if you can figure out how you see the line best, how you stand best, how you stroke the ball best, then get a putter that fits that. Um, and that's unfortunately that's quite hard to do. A lot of people don't hit putters that way, and then a lot of people just walk up and give one a waggle, hit a couple of putts on a bias putting mat, and say, "I'll take that one." Really find out what your preferences are, find out what your biases are, and get a putter that fits you. And then the second one would just be learn how to read greens properly, because no putter will ever help you read a green. And if you can't read the green, then you can't pick your start line. And if you can't pick your start line, you'll never hole a putt.
I hope you keep saying that over and over, that because and I mean, it's so interesting because David Orr, who I'm very close to, always says the number one putting skill to get right is green reading.
Yes. I mean, if I had one fantasy thing that I could do, I would love to come and have a face-to-face fitting with Bruce. I would love to come and have a lesson with David Orr as well. And I like David his history working with David Adele. I mean, I'd really like to try an Adele fitting system. David Adele understands the influence of grip and neck and sight lines, but there's nobody in Scotland who fits for Adele.
Well, that's going to be it for today, but thanks again. And I know you've just started Substack in
Yes.
addition to your website. People that like Substack will find a great alternative there for them to follow you. And, see, I told you it was going to take a decent amount of time for this and we wouldn't talk much about mindfulness, but you put a new post on a redo of a post on mindfulness today that I read before we got on, and you have a big interest in that. So people should look at those things too in your posts. Keep testing putters. Great idea.
Thank you very much for your time.
The Golf Improvement Podcast is sponsored by David Orr and the Flatstick Academy, putting instruction without all of the bull. www.flatstickacademy.com.
Thanks to David Orr and the Flatstick Academy for sponsoring my podcast and website in 2025. In the link I've provided, you'll see that David has created more than 385 Flatstick videos, more than 7,000 hours of great content, and 90 premium articles. I'm looking forward again to attending his annual Flatstick Putting Conference in Southern Pines, North Carolina in early December. Always a great source of learning for me. Subscriber cost $9.99 a month. Incredible value for the money, especially if you want to stop being swayed by much of the awful putting content you see from Dr. YouTube. See www.flatstickacademy.com for more details. Keith, what a great discussion of the process you've used to work to find a putter that is truly a match for your putting stroke. Finding the putter that's a match for your putting tendencies and having a specific process for testing putters. All great things for golfers who want to do more than, I like the look of this putter. It looks great to me. And then buying another one and another one when your choice doesn't work. Thanks for doing this interview with me, Keith, and keep testing putters. There is a really important bottom line from Keith's discussion with me. As much as he talked about his putter testing, learning AimPoint Express and using it has been the biggest key to his putting improvement. No surprise to me. I put links in the show notes to Keith's website, ThoughtsFromTheTrain.com, to his new Substack area that you can subscribe to, which he titles The Clubhouse, and also to the Tangent app that he uses to track his putting and golf performance stats. My shout out today, well, it's a double one. Green reading is the most important putting skill if you want to putt your best. AimPoint Express simply works, but you need to be trained to use it. I put a link in the show notes to where you can find resources to learn AimPoint Express for yourself, either from a certified AimPoint instructor or through a lot of new web-based training options. And if you want another way to measure your own putting performance, the Stack Putting app is a great option to consider. I use it. It works. Stack Putting is available on a 30-day trial basis, and I've included a link to it. And one more thing. I shot my age for the first time about 2 weeks ago. I shot 75. I'm now 76 years old. I did a lot of things to help me achieve that. Maybe more about that sometime in the future. But it's a lifetime achievement for me. If you click the link in the show notes for this episode, you'll see all of my favorite previously published podcast content. I hope you'll subscribe to my YouTube podcast channel and also like the episodes you listen to through YouTube. Thanks. Well, that's it for today. No set plans right now for the next episode, but I'll be working to find another great person to interview soon. But until then, take care, God bless Ukraine, and God bless America.
Game Improvement Golf, changing golfers' lives, one golfer at a time. www.GameImprovementGolf.com